everybody. Welcome to a special episode here on the Digital Classroom Dental Podcast. I'm your host, John Stamper, and very excited to be here live in Las Vegas at the Dental and Medical Insurance Extravaganza. We are on a break, and I wanted to spend some time with one of the attendees that's here this morning, and I'm very honored to bring on Dr. KenBerley from Northwest Arkansas, who practices in Northwest Arkansas. And I just learned that he is not only a DDS, but he is also an attorney, and he is also the only attorney in the world that is boarded sleep. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Did I say that correct?
That's correct, yes.
So thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
I appreciate it. So we wanted to bring on Dr. Berley and just kind of get his feedback on what the morning has been like here at the event. And he had shared with me that he goes to a lot of these events, especially with his background in law, to really kind of see what's being shared out there with a lot of these events and things like that. So how's the morning been so far?
It's been great. A lot of enthusiasm, a lot of interaction type of lectures talking about how the staff should interact with the patients and build commitments and build relationships and kind of minimize insurance.
Yes.
Very positive message.
Yeah, excellent. And from your perspective, not only obviously as a dentist, but then on the legal side, all these changes obviously in the world of billing and things like that. I mean, I'm sure that adds a whole nother level of some of the changes that are going on in dentistry.
Oh, certainly. We always have guys that are less risk averse and
right.
more risk averse, and we have dentists that are using and abusing the system, and
right.
we have dentists that are trying to do it right to stay out of trouble. And it's always interesting as you interact with people where they kind of fall in
right.
that risk reward continuum, but these meetings are always fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because I'm sure from your perspective, it's like if you didn't know what you could do or
yes.
what was out there on that spectrum, certainly that's what you could take away.
The big issue with these medical dental insurance billing issues is rarely is there a discussion about the people that are being audited and the people that are in real trouble dealing with their billing habits. I would have loved to have seen an attorney actually lecturing with this group and saying, look, this is not something that you need to abuse.
Right.
So, but I'm always concerned. I have a number of clients that are being audited, and we're not talking thousands. We're talking
yes.
hundreds of thousands
yes.
that they're in trouble. So I'm always interested in what's being said and how the next great thing is being promoted, and is there an element of be careful though,
right.
okay? Don't abuse this,
right.
and document to make sure that you can prove that you did what you said you did. Not just because you have a code, that doesn't mean you can bill it. You
right.
can bill it if you've done X, Y, and Z,
right.
and you have the documentation to prove it. But I was really excited about some of the obviously this group is primarily staff members, and there's some really good interaction that's going on about how the staff needs to go out of their way to develop relationships.
Right.
And
right.
that's right on point.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was talking to Jan Palmer earlier this morning, and you'll know this, being on the sleep side, sometimes so many of these newer procedures, people get very excited on the marketing side,
mm-hmm.
right? The practices are marketing that they can do this procedure.
Yes.
Obviously, the patients are going to get excited, but to your point, if you don't understand all the inner workings of how to make that work in your practice, you can get a little ahead of yourself, especially on the legal side, like you said.
It happens all the time.
Yeah.
And sadly, most of the groups doing CE, they're really corporately driven, okay?
Right.
And they've got a product to sell, and I don't know, sometimes it's all about making that sale
sure.
and not about what the professional needs to be successful at this.
Right.
Because they may or may not need your product, but what they do need to know is what to do Monday morning
yes.
to help that patient.
Yes.
So, as I say, dentistry is evolving. It used to be the mom and pop store. It's not that anymore. And many of the courses we go to, as I say, are corporately driven, and many times I see those people after they get in trouble, and they're calling me now in desperation, and so it's an issue, it's a problem, and I think that's going to get worse and not better.
Absolutely.
You know?
Well, and that's why I was so excited about this event, because I think, and I'm curious on your thoughts on that, is that if there are more educational events like this, which is the real day-to-day things of what's happening, but like you said, what could happen, or knowing about the ins and outs of things, where there's not necessarily, like you said, a product behind it, but more or less the actual steps that a team needs to take in regards to some of these issues.
I agree. More of these programs that actually give you what to do, not necessarily just enough to know that you need to
be aware of it. Yes. Yeah.
You know, I would like them. I'd like many of these courses to go into more detail.
Sure.
Not just give you the overview.
Sure.
And I haven't been in this course to know whether or not it's going to be that way in this course. I'm hoping it is.
Yeah.
Many times you go to these courses and it's basically one advertisement after another.
Sure.
You know, call me so I can help you.
Right.
And that's sad.
Yep.
Okay. I don't know about this one yet. I'm positive. You know, I'm going into it with an open mind. Obviously, I'm not here to purchase somebody's services.
Sure.
I'm here to see what they're saying.
Yeah.
So my perspective is a little different.
Yeah, I like it though. I think it's great.
And I don't know. I'm not going to list other courses I've gone to, but I've gone to a bunch of them and said they should have paid me to come.
Right.
You know, because I paid for a big commercial.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
And that's sad.
Yeah.
It's sad because they take advantage of the dentist. It's very costly for us to be out of our office and be here, and we need dollar value that we can go home and say, let's implement these changes. Mm-hmm. I went to the course. I know enough now to implement the changes.
Right.
And because I spent the $10,000 to come to Vegas, I can now make multiples of that because of this time spent. And that, to me, is what makes a great course. And sadly, there's not that many of them out there now. Yeah. But I'm hoping this is one of them. And I know this is the first event for Christine, and this does not necessarily, however it comes out, mean that that's what it's going to be. Sure. But we all do our things, and we all look for how can we get better. I'm all about having lecturers that pour out their heart, give you what they've got, and you walk home confident. You go home confident. So I don't know, but I'm optimistic. I think the lecturers so far have been very, very positive. They've given, some pieces.
Sure.
But the puzzle is still mostly empty.
That's right.
Okay?
Right.
And for most of the people, I think it's still mostly empty. So I'm hoping the pieces get put together.
Yeah.
So
I really appreciate your insight on that. It's interesting because there are so many changes in continuing education right now.
Yes.
And I'm excited.
Everybody has a course.
Absolutely. and I'm excited. I mean, I one of the reasons why I started this podcast, The Digital Classroom, was to have people share what's working, what's not, what's next, what really does the industry want.
Yes.
And I think most importantly, like you said, is if you are going to take the time out of what is an already busy schedule, maybe unlike it was years ago, how are you going to be able to use that in your practice on Monday morning? So
you've got to.
I'm so glad that you recognize that, and I think, like you said, this is the first annual one here, but I think that this could be a learning experience, for these types of courses, and your insight is certainly super valuable, and I really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. Yeah. It was a pleasure.
Pleasure to meet you, and enjoy the rest of the course.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.